Mistakes can happen to anyone and anything, even to movies that cost millions of dollars to produce. And K-pop Demon Hunters isn't an exception. There are so many mistakes in this movie that will make you laugh your heart out when you see them. I'm talking about the kinds of mistakes that find their way in very serious situations and just throw you off. And I'm going to be talking about all of them. From Abby's abs shrinking, to the Saja boys being wiggly like they are boneless, down to a mistake that actually has 3 whole mistakes in it that happened after the girls defeated Guima. And there's one particular mistake that I have saved for last that will make you laugh till the fall of your seat. So like and subscribe. Let us begin. The first mistake I'll be talking about is something I didn't expect, and when I saw it, I was honestly confused at first. It happened on that airplane scene when Bobby called Rumi to ask where she and the girls were. Now normally when you get a call, the call doesn't start counting until you answer it, right? Well, that isn't what happened in this scene. As a matter of fact, you can see the call counting before Rumi even picked up the phone. I'm serious, he counted to at least 3 seconds. It made me wonder what the filmmakers were actually thinking when they were making this scene. You know what? I don't even think they were thinking. Maybe they were playing games while editing this scene. Let us talk about Bobby one more time. That guy is probably my favorite character in the entire movie. Well, it's either him or Zoe, but in this case, let's just say him. So Bobby was involved in another mistake, and this one was funny and annoying at the same time. I would tell you how. It was that scene where Bobby came into the girls' living room to inform them that their new single, Golden, was trending. When that guy stepped in, he looked like he was about to have the time of his life. I mean, he had a pink face mask on, a bathrobe, and the white t-shirt that had the Huntrix logo on it. But when he suddenly spun around and threw off his bathrobe, the t-shirt he was wearing suddenly lost its flavor. What I mean is that the designs on the t-shirts have disappeared. It just wasn't there anymore. The t-shirt had turned plain. Now, you would think that after making such a mistake, the filmmakers would know how to avoid making a mistake that involves clothing, but they didn't. As a matter of fact, the next mistake is still about clothing. Well, it's not exactly about clothes, but more about jewelry. And it might entrust you to know that this mistake happened with you all's favorite boy. I'm sure you all know who I'm talking about. That smug Jinu. You know, from the very first time the girls and the boys met in that alley, I just knew Jinu was going to be a problem. He was a bit too full of himself. But what I would give him credit for though, is that he always maintained that natural bling around him. What that basically means is that Jinu isn't big on jewelry, or at least he wasn't in that first scene where he met Huntrix. In that scene, the only jewelry he was wearing was a pair of earrings. That wasn't even noticeable. But in the next scene, when they were performing Soda Pop, we saw Jinu wearing a big chain on his neck. It was so big that you would think it was a dog chain. I mean, it's fitting when you realize that Jinu is the big dog of the group. Woof woof. Haha. Still though, that chain shouldn't have been there. If you think that was crazy, just wait till you see what happened in number 4. This mistake is very funny to me because I kept trying to find a logical way for it to happen in my head. So the mistake happened during the Idol Awards when those demons shapeshifted into Mira and Zoe. They began performing Takedown with Rumi, and I knew that wasn't right because there was no way that the demons could possibly know the lyrics and rhythm of Takedown, especially because they weren't there to see the girls perform it. You want to know what's funny? I imagine Derpy the Tiger recording them with a phone and giving the recording to Jinu. The thought of Derpy holding a phone made me laugh so hard. You know, I have come to the conclusion that the animators are just very terrible at animating jewelry. Or they don't even wear jewelry, so they don't know how to use it properly in the movie. Because this next mistake is also about jewelry, but not the kind you think. It happened in that scene where Rumi ran into a restroom after her voice cracked during rehearsals. I guess she was choking, so she quickly unzipped her turtleneck shirt to let herself breathe, and maybe even look at her demon markings on her neck. I think it's important to note that she unzipped her shirt by grabbing the zip pull, which was a gold star. But when she was done unzipping, the gold star disappeared, like the shirt suddenly didn't have a zip. And you would think that was it, but oh no, it isn't. Because in the next shot, we actually ran out of the restroom. We saw this shirt zipped up and the pendant back in its place. You know, at this point, I just think these people are joking in this movie. Do you know what the budget for K-pop Demon Hunters was? $100 million. That's enough money to buy you between 2 and 5 private jets, depending on the price of the one you're going for. And yet, these filmmakers were able to make a mistake on a private jet in the movie. You know, the one the girls used to go to their show at the beginning of the movie? There was this shot in that scene where we saw demons ripping off one of the plane's wings. A few seconds later, we saw the girls standing at the edge of the plane, and we got to see the whole plane. Imagine my shock when I saw that the 2 wings were still intact, even though we just saw one of them being ripped off. I don't know about you, but if you gave me $100 million to make a movie, you won't see any mistakes. You might think I am being too pompous because I am not in their shoes. Well, let me show you how silly these mistakes can get. The 8th secret mistake happened backstage at the Idol Awards. I'm sure we remember that scene where we saw Mira throwing punches at a punching bag. There was this picture on that punching bag, and if you looked at it properly, you would see that it was a picture of Abby's abs. Now, that picture was large enough to cover the entire punching bag. I mean, it was freaking huge. But after Bobby walked in, we got to look at that picture again, and it looked very small. Some of you might defend this scene, saying that it is because of the distance of the second shot that it looked like the picture became smaller. But come on, we both know that's not true. You can go watch the scene again. It just goes to show you how careless these mistakes are getting. And hey, did you know that they made another earring mistake? Let me show you. So the 9th mistake is basically another earring mistake. You know they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, I'm not going to be a fool because at this point, it's like they don't even care. They just do whatever they want and hope we don't see it. Hey people, I have sharp eyes. I'm going to see it. This mistake I'm talking about happened in that scene where Saja boys joined Huntrix during the fan signing. When the boys were about to leave, we saw Rumi clapping, and I noticed that she was wearing just one earring. It's like they try to make her fashionable, and because of that, they make mistakes that could have been avoided. I mean, why are you giving her just one earring when you know it's going to lead to a mistake? Like a second after seeing Rumi clapping, we noticed that her earring was jumping from her right ear to her left ear. Gosh, I feel bad for being a K-pop Demon Hunters fan, but I'll power through. And this next mistake just goes further to prove it. There was this scene where Rumi, Mira, and Zoe were so excited to take down the Saja boys. They decided they were going to write a killer song that will knock the boys off the top of the charts. Well, they were all so pumped that they began running out of the room to get to work. But while they were running, a mistake happened. In that scene, they all jumped over a couch. Don't ask me why. Adrenaline can make you do weird things. The point is, everyone except Mira jumped over that couch successfully. What do I mean? Well, you know Mira has long legs because she's the tallest in the movie. So her second leg was supposed to clash with the couch because she didn't raise it properly. But guess what? Instead of making Mira tumble or correcting the mistake by making her raise her leg properly, the animators just made her phase through the couch, like she actually passed through it. I nearly lost my mind when I saw this because there is no way that is possible. But you know what else isn't possible? The way Rumi's markings behave. There's something about Rumi's demon markings that never sat well with me. The first time this mistake happened, I didn't really think anything about it because I didn't understand the rules that govern the movie. But after I was done with the movie, I understood that Rumi started developing her demon markings at a very young age. I realized something. There was a mistake at the very beginning of the movie. We saw a flashback of her that showed her as a little child attending a red carpet event with Celine. In that scene, she wasn't properly covered up. She was wearing a sleeveless gown that showed her arms and neck. One thing we know about Rumi is that she loves hiding her arms and neck because they have demon markings. Some people might say, well, she was a child, so she didn't have markings back then. Well, that's where you're wrong. In another flashback where she was the same age, we saw Celine combing her hair, and she had demon markings all over her arms and neck. Did the filmmakers forget that Rumi was part demon? Are they just doing whatever they feel like now? And you wouldn't believe that that's not the only time 1 and 2 didn't equal 3 in this movie. We saw something roughly similar in that bathhouse fight when Rumi and Jinu were trying to kill each other. Jinu ripped off the sleeve of her shirt with his claws, and by some miracle, she wasn't injured. As though that wasn't unrealistic enough, when she pinned him down to the ground, the tear that Jinu gave her shirt miraculously disappeared. I couldn't find it anymore. Believe me, I looked really closely. My eyes almost turned to a magnifying glass. Yet, I didn't see any tear in her shirt. But 2 seconds later, Jinu looked at her arm and the tear was right there and he saw her markings through it. Do you know how funny that is? It's like a child saying he's sick, and when you try to give the child medicine, he claims that he isn't sick anymore. Funny stuff. Now, let's talk about one of the craziest mistakes that happened in the movie. I'm sure we all recall that fan at the final show of the movie. If you don't already know the fan I'm talking about, then I doubt that you're a fan of K-pop demon hunters. The fan in question is the one that was wearing a t-shirt with Kwima's name on it. This is a mistake because humans don't know about demons and they most definitely don't know about Kwima. So there's no way for that guy to know about Kwima and still have a t-shirt with Kwima's name on it. But what makes this particular mistake very funny is how the character was shown 2 times. I mean, how can these guys be so proud of their mistake that they were careless enough to show it twice? You want to know what I wish was shown twice though? A mistake that happened when the Saja boys were performing Soda Pop. I will have to hold your hand through this one because the first time I saw it, I almost fell off my chair laughing. To be honest, it is one of the few mistakes that I wouldn't change if I had the chance to. Is it a mistake? Sure. Does this mistake make this scene look like it's from a low-budget movie? Of course it does. But hey, I love it either way. It's that scene where the boys were dancing towards the end of their performance and suddenly their legs became flexible. It's like it was just wiggling around because there were no bones inside their legs. But I know it's not possible for them not to have bones in their legs, so I don't know what the explanation for this is. All I know is that it is funny and I like it. Another mistake that left me quite baffled. It's about my other favorite character. Do you remember who it is? I mentioned the character earlier on in this video. Let's see how any of you have been paying attention. I'm going to give you 3 seconds to comment who the character I'm talking about is. Let's count down together, shall we? 3, 2, 1. Who do you think it is? Zoe. The mistake in question happened at the beginning of the movie when we saw a flashback about Zoe. She was in school in America and she was writing songs. Now, that scene where we saw her writing song lyrics has a lot of hidden mistakes behind it. But the one I want to talk about is a detail that proved she knew something she had no way of knowing. Just ignore the book she's writing on and look at the one behind it. It's purple and has the word demon boldly written on it. What this means is that Zoe knew about demons when she was a child in school, which we all know isn't possible. That was a blatant mistake. Want to hear another mistake that makes me laugh every single time? Well, strap in because nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, will prepare you guys for this mistake. This mistake took place during the performance of Soda Pop, when the guys were handing out gifts to the fans. There was something particularly funny to me with the way they slid past a group of children to give them gifts. And that was even before I saw the mistake that happened there. When I saw the mistake, my eyes dropped and I burst out laughing. Right as they were sliding past the children, I saw something that just didn't look right. So I took the movie back a few seconds and watched that scene again. And behold, my eyes weren't deceiving me. Abby's butt was showing right in front of me. His trousers were too loose, I guess, so the trousers were way below his waist. Gosh, it was so embarrassing. I laughed, but then I felt bad. But this next mistake should make the animators embarrassed. They should hide their faces in shame because of how big of a slip-up this mistake actually is. It actually happened when the Saja boys invited everyone to their free midnight show, which is the show where they performed Your Idol. Right before they made their announcement, there was a glitch that basically revealed the Saja boys' true identity. The trick here, though, is that the glitch moved so fast that people couldn't see this careless mistake. But I am serious when I say that the Saja boys revealed their demon form in that scene. Yeah, right inside that glitch. I had to really slow the scene down to be able to see this mistake, but when I saw it, I was shocked. I think one thing about this mistake is that it is the one that annoyed me. It wasn't exactly funny, just annoying. Anyways, let's talk about the 18th mistake, which is so funny that it makes me wonder if it wasn't a bunch of children that made K-pop demon hunters. This mistake happened when the Saja boys were performing Soda Pop. I saw something quite unique. Well, unique is my own way of making it sound cool. This mistake is a straight-up comedy skit. Jinu drank a tonic while he was performing. Rumi saw that it was one of hers and quickly counted the pouches in the box she was with. And what Rumi counted were 6 pouches. Not 16, just 6. And that was very shocking to me because earlier on, we saw the girls pack the tonic pouches into the box after it spilled, and they put back 13. This calculation made me burst out laughing because I just concluded that these animators had to have been children. Cause why else can't you count that 13 minus 1 is 12, not 6? Another thing that proves that this movie might have been made by children is the fact that they don't follow due process. When building a house, you start from the foundation, but the way these guys work, it's like they want to build the roof before the foundation, which just doesn't work. And that is exactly what we saw in this scene, where Rumi was getting dressed for the rehearsal of their golden performance. We saw her carefully getting dressed to make sure that no part of her skin was showing. She even wore her long jackets to cover her entire arms. And yet in that same scene, we saw an X-strap over her chest. Mind you, this design couldn't have been worn without her taking off her jacket. We know she didn't take off her jacket, so how did she put it on? This is why I use the foundation and roof explanation. It is just so silly that it's making me chuckle. I know what I'm about to say doesn't sound believable, but trust me when I say it. This next mistake is a lot sillier than any I have mentioned. Everything about it is so crazy that I laugh at it even when someone else is watching the scene. And shockingly, it happened right at the beginning of the movie. Now, let me lay the foundation for this comedy that is a mistake. On the plane, one thing was established, which is that demons don't really vibe with the human world. Other than stealing souls, they don't know how anything else works. They showed us one of the demons watering plants with coffee. I don't think even dogs would do that. But right after, we saw a demon come out of the cockpit, meaning he was the one flying the plane. A demon was the one flying the plane. I want you to understand how absurd that sounds. Number 21 is very unique for so many reasons, but here's the one that is important to me. Zoe and Mira went into the arena at the end of the movie, and to be honest, I don't know if they were also brainwashed like the rest of the fans, because they were looking like that. But what I want you to pay attention to is where they each went after they walked into the arena. They were both on opposite sides at the very top of the arena. They are so high up that it would take them a few minutes to get down to the ground. But after Rumi walked into the arena and started singing, these girls appeared on the floor at the snap of a finger, and it made me start imagining the quickest ways they could have gotten down. I even thought about them punching their way through the crowd of innocent fans to get down quicker. Well, let's move on to a mistake that is just unfair. So I thought about this mistake one night while I was just looking at my ceiling, waiting to fall asleep. You know how demons took the shape of Mira, Zoe, and Bobby during the Idol Awards? Well, it's got me thinking, doesn't that just make the entire movie useless? Seriously though, think about it. The whole reason for Jinu forming a boy band was to steal the Huntrix's fans. So if they could just make themselves look like the girls and steal the fans, what was the need for this entire movie? It's really funny when you think about it. Remember what I said about this movie being made by children? Well, this is another mistake that just proves that, and it is very funny because some people might not believe what I'm saying, but the proof is right there. In that scene where Bobby came to show Mira and Zoe the edits that fans were making of them and the Saja boys, I saw a mistake that almost made me spit out my tongue. I was looking through the edits when I noticed that Mira's edit was different. It had a picture of her from another day, the day they went to Healer Han's clinic. Well, that's not possible, right? No one knew where the girls were going that day, so it isn't even possible that the picture could be in existence. But hey, there are even more mistakes that don't make any sense, and this particular one happened after the girls had defeated Guima. After that victory, 3 mistakes happened at once, so you can say this is a buy one get two free deal. The first mistake was that it was suddenly morning. There are 6 to 7 hours after midnight for the sun to come up. So are you telling me that 2 songs and battling Guima took 6 hours? The next thing that happened was the girls flying. Huntrix can't fly. Where did this sudden power come from? And lastly, the fans were cheering. Yeah, they were cheering as though it were normal to see people fly. And remember that they were being mind controlled, so they should have been panicking when they saw themselves in that arena instead of being in their homes. The next mistake that startled me was the girls saying on the plane that this was going to be their biggest show with the most songs and most moves. Well, how do I put this lightly? They lied. Yeah, they really lied. Let's look at the facts. They said that the show was going to have the most songs they had ever performed in a show. Now, unless their previous shows used to last 30 seconds, then that was a lie. How? Well, the girls performed just one song. Just one. How It's Done. Remember it? And they only performed half of it in the stadium. So how does that count as the most songs? Next up, we'll be talking about a mistake that blew things away. Almost literally. I don't know if most of you know this, but Abby Saja got a mistake. Yeah, and this mistake happened in that scene where the Saja boys and Huntrix met for the first time. Just as the boys appeared, Abby started stretching to show off his muscles. And that boy's shirt could barely hold all that muscle in. I mean, in the shirt's defense, it's not his size. I'm pretty sure he just grabbed it from whatever store he could find. But while he was stretching, all the buttons on that shirt shot off. Like every single one of them broke off. But then in the next shot, they were all back like they never left. As a matter of fact, his shirt was properly buttoned. The next mistake is what I like to call the demon of forgetfulness, because that is the only explanation I can think of. A demon that makes the characters in the movie forget about important details. Details like this scene where 6 souls came into the demon world, but we saw Guima eat only 1. I first thought that he just chose to eat 1, but then Jinu said, that soul is just a starter. He was referring to just one soul, like the others don't exist. No, bro. I think whatever made the guys count the tonic pouches wrongly earlier is exactly the problem in this mistake. Cause these guys are being so forgetful. Anyways, in this next mistake, we'll be talking about another mistake that just screws how clueless everyone in this movie is. So during the rehearsal for the Idol Awards, we saw Rumi speaking about how she didn't like the song, and Mira said the Idol Awards are tomorrow, so they couldn't make any changes. And later that night, Jinu told Rumi that he'll make sure the Saja boys lose tomorrow, and also said he can't wait to see her on that stage tomorrow. But the next day, Rumi told the girls she knows they can win tomorrow. Girl, it's already tomorrow. What are you talking about? I wish I could hold my laughter. Anyways, let's go back to that plane scene. There's something I want to show you. Just before the fight started, the girls went to confront the demons, and you will not believe what I noticed. The entire table that the girls were eating on and all the food that was on the table just disappeared. Like, it was like it never existed in the first place. I mean, all you have to do is look behind the girls and you'd see what I'm talking about. It is hilarious just thinking about it. Now, for the final mistake, I'm going to show you something that none of you noticed. It happened in that scene where Abby was stretching to show off his abs. When his buttons broke off and the girls were able to see his abs, Zoe was so blown away that her hat fell off her head. And I wish they had just stopped there, but they decided to take it forward and mistakes were made. Instead of them showing us how Zoe picked up her hat, we immediately saw it in her hand, like it just teleported there. And to make matters worse, she was now using it as a popcorn bucket. A popcorn bucket!